Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Good evening, one and all, and welcome to Simspeed TV as we bring you coverage of Ozicar Formula Ford's Round 3. It's a sprint at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, 3 6-lap races, flat out, slipstreaming Formula V blast through the Ardennes Forest. David Haynes here with you for coverage, alongside Jason Fewens with production by Jay Kennedy. Jason, we've been really enjoying this new season of Ozicar Formula Ford, as we get a little exciting with the formats this round, and they're in the Formula V.
Yeah, good evening, David. Good evening, everybody. It's one of the rounds that we've talked about from the moment that the calendar was announced, and we've really been looking forward to coming here. It's going to be 19 corners of concentration for these drivers. They do have a big, long stretch at the top of En Rouge, but it's only a short opportunity for them to catch a breath before they're back into it. So we're at the halfway point of the season, and 3 sprint rounds tonight is going to make things very, very interesting, and potentially has a good opportunity to shake up the championship.
And you're looking at the format there, 6 laps for race 1, 6 laps for race 2 with an inverted top 8 on the grid, and then 6 laps for race 3. It's been a super competitive championship to this point, at some strong fields, but it's been Ewan Baker who's taken the best of the race wins, but it doesn't mean he's bolted away and clear. There he is on 202 points after 2 rounds. James Chastanoff, Jamie Stowbold still hot on his heels, and anything can happen here at Spa. And then you saw Brodie Shepherd just behind them in the points. They're getting ready for race number 1. Tom Freer is on that pole. Ewan Baker is also on the front row to try to defend that championship lead. Jamie Stowbold, Caleb Dawson, Brodie Shepherd, and James Chastanoff as the top 6. Sean Doyle in 7th, and then Jacob Warmeyer, Stuart Vaughan, Ben Miles, Brady Baldwin, and Nathan Norman to 12th. Joshua Horton, Warren Henry, Dyson Freeman, Ben Wheeler, Ira Felberg, and John Snell to 18th. There's one driver we're going to see who hasn't set a qualifying time there. In fact, 2 of them. Jason Fewens, you don't appear to have qualified. Neither is Dean Russell, and I did notice 18th was also not an especially competitive time. The thing about Spa-Francorchamps is it is an almighty massive lap, and just a 10-minute qualifying session. They really got one go at it.
Yeah, it's a make or break. It's a two quick laps to set a qualifying time tonight, and it takes a good part of your opening lap to warm up those tyres. So it's really, from the moment the lights go green here tonight, it's going to be action, because these tyres are going to take a little bit to get some heat into them, and we're potentially going to see a fair bit of action early on in the race.
So there's your grid as the 10-second warnings displayed to the drivers. They're all ready to go. It's 6 laps, and that means 1 to warm up your tyres, 5 to slipstream and battle it out and try to take glory. And of course, in race 1 here with an invert top 8 for race 2, you want to be in that top 8 at the end of race number 1. Ready to go. Tom Freer on the pole, championship leader to his outside. Looks like everyone gets away without stalling, which was a problem at Brands Hatch in previous rounds. Freer coming across towards turn 1 to give himself a good line and looking to swoop around the outside goes Ewan Baker. Cold tyres for all still, and now they head downhill, picking up speed, and it's near flat out from here for 1.5 kilometres towards Malmedy.
Yeah, single file was a thing to do there. You can just see them taking through, a couple going potentially too wide as they make their way up through the change of direction, but it looks like a pretty good opening sector for everything. Quite clean and giving each other lots of respect, lots of room. Now they get onto the straight, and this is where we're expecting to fan out, potentially 2 or 3 wide, but the SS cars out in front at the moment, just keeping things under control.
So from third on the grid, Jamie Stovald's going to go to the race lead at the end of the long Camel Straight. Indeed, a little bit of teamwork perhaps happening there. Brody Shepherd skips across a little bit of the road, manages to find some pavement to help him rejoin safely though. As long as he's part of the pack, he stands a chance in this race. And then, teammates up front, teammates to the tail there, as looks like Warren Henry and Ira Felberg traded places at the end. And then Caleb Dawson showing his nose to the inside of No Name Speaker's Jackie Ick's corner as he's behind James Chastanoff in fourth. And having been swamped by the teammates up front, Ewan Baker in third there looks like he's just going to drop in line behind them and acknowledge that there is so much slipstreaming opportunity still to happen in this race.
Yeah, wily old characters. Ewan, he knows any moves don't have to happen and make him stick on the opening lap. There's a long way to go. Like I said, slipstream is going to be critical here, so just playing that waiting game, waiting for an opportunity. But there's 3 out in front making a little bit of a breakaway for it at the moment, with the train trailing behind, being led by James Chastanoff, but it's SSR 1-2 with Ewan Baker sitting in P3 at the moment. We've got a spin in the background.
3 cars off the road. John Snell is one of them, and I didn't pick up what the other 2 was. This is through Lafania. Brady Baldwin is crabbing massively. Dean Russell might also have a little bit of damage. So 3 cars have tangled there at the Piff Path. Brady Baldwin is the driver who appears to have the most damage.
The action is plenty up in front. We have had a change of direction. As we see, there's a Caleb Dawson coming across, having a bit of a slide, and James Chastanoff getting the nose taken off, nowhere to go as they made their way through the last sector. So dropping down the order on the left-hand side of your screen is the 42 back into P12.
Through Blanchemont there, Caleb Dawson still on those cold tyres, losing control. And James Chastanoff needing to take the avoiding action and going for a bit of a spin as well, potentially some damage on a couple of cars after the opening lap of 3 races. Taking a look what transpired at Lafania here, and it starts with the spin for Brady Baldwin, and the 2 cars behind can't avoid, and that's damage to 3 race cars. Here's Dawson coming across on James Chastanoff, and he has big run into the barrier there, but has gotten to pit lane, gotten repairs on his car. Jamie Stovall, Tom Freer, Ewan Baker, still your top 3 as they head down the Camel Straight once again. That leading 3 almost breaking away from the next group, where Stuart Vaughan's moved forward. Jacob Wallmeyer and Sean Doyle behind him. And there is Wallmeyer getting his elbows out a little bit through Lacombe and then into Malmedy on Sean Doyle, who runs 6th.
Yeah, so as we alluded to at the start of the race, potential action aplenty on the opening lap. So it's warm tyres now. We're halfway through lap number 2. So cars should be a lot more settled, a lot more predictable. So hopefully we'll see the worst of the carnage for race number 1. But there'll be a heap of information the drivers will have to take on board when they come back for the second race tonight, for another short 6-lap sprint race very shortly.
On board with 6th place Doyle as he tries to manage the speed downhill, large speeds around circuit Spa-Francorchamps, of course. It's a large track of 7 kilometres, no downforce on a Formula Ford. And so through those long and fast corners, they really are managing the grip at the rear of the car, turning in, and then just trying to control it through the corner, little adjustments as they go.
So P4, Stuart Vaughan just making a bit of a break from that little group behind as they trip over themselves in Ps 5 and 6. So a little bit of breathing room for the 22 as he gets his eyes facing forward and focuses on the challenge that is to catch the 3 out in front at the moment. But a little bit of a battle. Sean Doyle in the 74, they're getting a little bit of a drift happening. Walmire following him through. The 55 is Brody Shepherd just sitting there ready to pick up the pieces in case chaos pursues.
Side by side off the final corner, not a perfect drive off the corner for Jacob Walmire. Sean Doyle gets ahead of him, and then the next group of cars here, Shepherd and Ben Miles, seem to have had a good run at Jacob Walmire as well. And it's about can Stuart Vaughan and Sean Doyle keep a touch with the slipstream of the leading 3? Still Tom Freer and Jamie Stovall up front there as Ewan Baker picked up the fastest lap of the race. It's Synergy Sim Racing by name. And with a slipstream this powerful, having teammates up the front, the synergy could be real.
Yeah, definitely would be advantageous to have a teammate and someone to work with at this point. So Ewan Baker's got his work cut out for him, but he's not leading the championship because he's a goose. He obviously knows what he's got to do to get the win at the end of the day, but just might have to play a different card and a bit different strategy in choosing when he wants to attack.
He got a good run there, but didn't want to take too much risk trying to outbrake down the inside. Goes to second place here, and now heading down towards Rivage. Is he going to get the nose to the inside here? What's the grip like offline? Sometimes you can take some diamond lines, some wide lines through there, and it looks like Jamie Stovall will try to hold on to the lead, but this battling, ooh, it must be exciting to see for Sean Doyle in 4th, Stuart Vaughan in 5th, as the leaders go too wide through a couple of corners.
Yeah, not exactly sure what happened to Stuart Vaughan because he's fallen back into the clutches of the cars that were behind him. So he's been relegated back to P5, thus promoting Sean Doyle up into P4. So, like you said, the cars in front tripping over and they had a good little healthy gap. Not even half a lap ago, and already they're the trailing train are in the slipstream of the 3 leaders.
Chance at an 11-way fight for the lead here as Ewan Baker defensive through a couple of these lines here, trying to maintain the race lead, trying to maybe upset the Synergy Sim Racing teammates there of Tom Freer, who immediately tries to strike back, and Jamie Stovall, who's now watching on, suspects Doyle on the Kemmel Straight probably past Stuart Vaughan, but here they come up towards the race lead. Too wide for the race lead, heading towards Blanchimont. Too wide as Vaughan tries to go around the outside of Doyle, does it, and they drop single file in behind. It's still too wide for those race leaders. Bring Brody Shepherd, Jacob Walmire, Ben Miles, Joshua Horton, Dyson Freeman, and Nathan Norman all towards the race lead. It's going to kick off in these 3 6-lap sprint races.
Yeah, we're halfway through the opening race here tonight, and it is spicy as an Indian curry as they make their way through the halfway point of the race. 7:07, Tom Freer taking control. Ewan Baker falling back into second. And Jamie Stovall, who was leading half a lap ago, is sitting comfortably in third. Sean Doyle underneath his rear gearbox having a look at an opportunity but not able to get the job done, and as a result puts himself under pressure going into En Rouge.
If your Formula Ford has a front gearbox, read the instructions again. You've assembled it incorrectly. This racing is ferocious, and the view from Ben Miles is going to be very interesting as we head down the Kemmel Straight. Basically flat out in top gear up that hill. And then the Kemmel Straight, a long run where you can play super speedway and do it for Dale. Ben Miles watches as people take their different lines. We're now 3 wide here. Stuart Vaughan getting mugged. This looks like Walmire is going to try to go 3 wide to the inside there, and there will be a little bit of contact, but I think they'll get away with it.
Yeah, very good job there by the tone delivery driver.
Doyle's off.
Vaughan.
Sean Doyle was up in 4th, 5th place there. Maybe a bit of wheel-to-wheel contact sees him into the gravel on the outside of Lacombe. Ewan Baker still leads a little bit of space now between the top 3 and the group behind once again, presumably from a bit of contact there that saw Sean Doyle off the road. Jacob Walmire up into 4th and Stuart Vaughan in 5th. We'll take a look at the replay up front here in that 3 wide. Oh, he's had that right rear tyre tagged by 2 different drivers as 3 wide pinching down into Lacombe gave the almost inevitable result. If 2 Mercedes drivers can't do it side by side without contact, how are 3 Formula Fords?
Yeah, well, probably only a third of the size of the Formula One cars, but still takes a lot of respect and a lot of trust in the drivers around you to get through there side by side. And in this case, it just there wasn't enough room. So one of our contenders for a potential podium, Sean Doyle, finding himself falling down the order. In fact, he's back in the pit, so that just pretty well might just end his race. We may not see him back out for the remainder of the laps.
Yeah, you end up in the wall, and then the other rear tyre was at an awkward angle as it got damaged by the contact into the wall. It'll be 2 laps to go as they complete this lap, but Tom Freer from the leading 3 is in the wall. Now it's just Jamie Stovald and Ewan Baker. Stovald adrift as his teammate has come unstuck in Blanchimont. It's a fearsome corner in almost any race car, but in these Formula Fords, look at the drift angle they take through there. No downforce to keep them planted, and too wide. He's on the inside. Let's take a look at what happened.
Yeah, the back end of the car definitely stepped out, and unfortunately, potential net code there between himself and Ewan Baker, but looks like the back end of the car was already taken its own journey towards the to the wall as that all happened. But get a bit of idea of where we are at the moment. They make their way back up on Rouge here on lap number 5, so we've got a lap and a half to go as they make their way down the Kemmel Straight. And look who's joined the party. Stuart Vaughan is back into this in the red and blue Daytona livery.
Vaughan had a massive run up the hill, but he sort of topped out a little bit here, and Brodie Shepherd is going to look down the inside there into 3rd place. Your leading group is 7 cars from Baker to Stovald, Shepherd, Stuart Vaughan, Jacob Woolmeyer, Ben Miles, and Joshua Horton after that trip down the Kemmel Straight. But Stovald's going to look down the inside of Rivage here, almost bang wheels with Baker, who tries to hold it tough around the outside, now drops back into 2nd.
There's a train of 7 out here with a lap and a half to go, so any one of these 7 drivers could find themselves on the podium. So you really got to start thinking about where you're going to place your car for the final run, particularly through the last sector of the final lap. But looks like Jamie Stovald has taken a 0.8 gap over the rest of the field at the moment. So this is the moment he's lit the afterburners and put the pressure on the guys behind. So they've either got to learn to get along, or if they keep tripping over each other, that gap is just going to continue to grow.
Brodie Shepherd qualified 5th, now running in 2nd, battling with Ewan Baker. Jamie Stovald's lead out to 1.2 seconds as this battling group continue to go too wide for 2nd place. Baker on the inside of Brodie Shepherd, slotting the gap. Jacob Woolmeyer, we've seen too wide into Blanchimont not work. Here goes Woolmeyer and Vaughan down the inside here to try to get in front. This looks so messy. They're coming towards the white flag at the end of this one. Again, too wide into Blanchimont. Stuart Vaughan's holding the inside where he needs to be so careful and so precise.
3 wide, they fan out into the last chicane on the second to last corner. This time round, they will get the white flag, but it's all about longevity, because the top 8 from race number 1 will invert for race number 2. So you've got to think about glory at the end of the day, not necessarily race 1. So you get a little bit hot-headed and a little bit of red mist under that virtual helmet, and you could make yourself way down the list and put yourself out of contention for a good result in race number 2.
Nathan Norman back of picture, just exiting La Source, is the driver in 8th place at the moment. Will be lucky pole sitter for race number 2. I'm thinking about that first lap run from La Source up Eau Rouge and Blanchimont towards Lacombe, and thinking, actually, I might want to start 3rd. But certainly, if you're looking at 8th place there, start on the front row for race number 2 would be very interesting. Here we are on the Kemmel Straight once again. Stuart Vaughan, I think, is actually hitting the rev limiter earlier than some of the other cars. So he has this run, and then it sort of stalls out, and he remains meat in the sandwich between Brodie Shepherd and Jacob Woolmeyer. Meanwhile, Jamie Stovald is checking out on this one, 2.5 second race lead on the final lap of race 1 of 3.
Yeah, all the drivers there doing a really good job to get through. They were 2 by 2 by 2 as they made their way through at the end of the Kemmel Straight, and everybody made it through without any car contact. So great driving from everybody involved, but they make their way through at the moment. Ewan Baker has been relegated back to 4th. He is our championship leader going into tonight's round. So again, all he's going to do is just keep a level head, but I'm sure he'll want to try and maximise any points he can get tonight. So half a lap to pull something out of the hat, but he's got some pretty smart characters in front of him who are pretty keen to hold on to those positions.
Stuart Vaughan in third there, looking around one way or the other how he might be able to get past Brodie Shepherd, currently leading this little group in second place. Baker right in the middle of it with Wallmeyer, who's been relatively aggressive at points, just behind him. And then Ben Miles and Joshua Horton, I don't think we've seen much out of them in terms of trying to make too many moves at this point, content to sit on the train. Maybe you get into the braking zone for the bus stop chicane on the final lap and that all changes. Stovald, he's checked out, looking down the barrel of a race win in race number 1. Stuart Vaughan gets in front to then take the proper line through Blanchimont here, but they're so stacked up behind him, he's going to need to cover the inside into the bus stop to keep second place. And of course, that's what he does. Shepherd looks around the outside, which can work through this flick back and forth through the chicane, but it won't on this particular occasion. 2 spinners in the back in the bus stop, but Jamie Stovald wins race 1. Stuart Vaughan holds on to race 2. Wallmeyer third from Shepherd in 4th. Ewan Baker back in 5th. Would be disappointed were it not for knowing that his key rival in the championship has also had a bit of a shocker here. Joshua Horton ends up in 8th there. So interesting how it's all shook out off the end of that final lap.
Yeah, drivers still coming across the line. Chastanoff in P12, I think it was, followed by Caleb Dawson. We've still got Sean Doyle out on track circulating as well. So after that contact on lap 3, he did manage to get back out of the pits, get the car repaired, and managed to be classed as a finisher, albeit back in P17. So he's down 10 positions from where he started. So we'll have to keep an eye on him because he will be one who potentially has the pace to come back through the field for race number 2. He's making his way through the last couple of sectors on track at the moment. It's a very, very lonely old drive out there at the moment, and he'll just be keen to put this race behind him, get the checkered flag, regroup, and see what he can do to redeem a good result in race 2.
He'll think he's the only man in Belgium, but he can't be because apparently there's a man in Brussels who's 6'4" and full of muscles. Off that final bus stop chicane there, it looks like Joshua Horton wasn't able to gather himself up quick enough to not get passed by Nathan Norman, but Horton stays inside of the top 8 to start on pole, and Norman will be second. Sean Doyle's crossed the checkered flag, and he is done with that. We'll move on very quickly into race number 2 with that top 8 invert. And of course, after the race 1 results of Jamie Stovald taking the win from Stuart Vaughan, Jacob Wallmeyer, Brodie Shepherd, Ewan Baker, Nathan Norman, Joshua Horton, and Dyson Freeman, that top 8 inverts. The rest of them start race 2, where they finished race 1, and so it means Warren Henry will be 9th on the grid from Ben Wheeler in 10th. And then Dean Russell, Ira Felberg, James Chastanoff, Caleb Dawson, John Snell, Ben Miles, Sean Doyle, Tom Freer, Brady Baldwin, and probably not Jason Fewens, but I think your key drivers to watch in race number 2 coming forward then would be Baldwin, Freer, and also Chastanoff.
So we are ready to start race number 2. It won't be long before the lights do go green and we will be back underway. We've got to remember quite a bit of action on the opening lap. So we'll see whether any of the drivers learn anything from race number 1, whether they just hold back a little bit and wait for these tyres to warm up. The revs are rising. They're away from their boxes. Doesn't look like a lot of wheel spin, so everybody away pretty cleanly, which is what we want to see here for race number 2. Nice and easy into the opening corner. Ewan Baker looking for an opportunity to get down the inside. He's keen to get that run into One Rouge and get the job done early.
Jason Fewens, the gambler, puts it all on red. We have seen some stalled Formula Fords off the grid before, and you'd expect them to be running their tallest gear sets here, or very tall gear sets here at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. So getting away initially from that grid could be very difficult. Getting away with cold tyres is super difficult as they all go every which way through Eau Rouge, Blanchimont the first time through. And what a start from Ewan Baker. He gets to the lead, gets to the inside, a little bit of contact, second and third behind there. Looks like Freeman manages to just gather it back up together. Not too much damage for these drivers. Warmeyer around the outside there into third place. Nathan Norman getting swamped a little bit as he drops back to fourth, and not a great race start from Joshua Horton by the looks of things.
Yeah, Freeman getting a little bit of a hiccup there, a little bit of car contact, but obviously still facing in the right direction, not losing a great deal of time, but certainly enough action to get his attention. He's got Woolmeyer directly in his shadow looking for an opportunity to get past, but Ewan Baker making the most of the opportunity to get some clean air between him and the pack behind. He saw how the benefit of that fell in the way of the leader in race number 1, so he's looking to replicate. And I really want to keep an eye on Stuart Vaughan to see whether he's made any changes to his setup in his car in between race 1 and 2. So we'll have to keep an eye on that to see whether he's still vulnerable down the Kemmel Straight as the race develops.
Yeah, I had the speed trap speeds from race 1 where everyone else was 212 kilometers an hour and he was 207. And it seemed like maybe it was holding him back a little bit. Goes around the outside on the opening lap of race 2 here. Tyres probably just starting to come in, but you can see not everyone within the track limits on the exit there. And it means Caleb Dawson has tangled with Warren Henry off the exit of the corner that I think might be Campus.
Yeah, Henry doing a really good result, getting inside that top 10 in race number 1. So unfortunate for him because he would have really relishing the opportunity for a good result. Stuart Vaughan looking to extend the track limits there, and then some rather obscure way to take a line through the chicane, but manages to get the job done, so it's worked, and that boosts him up into P number 3.
Correction, Stavilo. You got a taker for pit road for some damage there. Dyson Freeman, maybe that wheel bang on the way into Lacombe did do more damage than we thought on that opening lap there, as we now start lap number 2. Ewan Baker's lead 1.2 seconds. The question for me is, with Jacob Wallmeyer and Stuart Vaughan in second and third, is 1.2 seconds actually enough to break the slipstream on the Kemmel Straight here? It seems like these are some of the tallest gears, highest speeds we're ever going to get. Jacob Wallmeyer might just be able to close it. Stuart Vaughan looks like he's going to get closed by Nathan Norman and Jamie Stovall here. Big run for Stovall to get 2 drivers.
Definitely looks like a repeat of race number 1. So Stuart Vaughan becoming a sitting duck at the end of the main straight, just running out of legs, and really can't do a lot to defend as he goes into the a right-left switchback at the end of the straight. So relegating himself back down another position, and that does elevate Jamie Stovall back up into P3.
Now, if it's run out of legs, is it a sitting duck by choice or because it's got no other option?
A duck with no legs doesn't go anywhere in a hurry.
Correct. So that lead preserved on the Kemmel Straight by Ewan Baker, now out to 1.5 seconds. Wallmeyer's been pretty good at picking his lane, picking his choices in the pack to try to make some passes. But I don't think this season of Ozicar Formula Ford we've seen anyone who can match the clean air pace of Ewan Baker. That has been a strength of his. Ira Felberg samples some of the Armco there. I get the idea he might have had a little bit of help potentially as well, although the track limits and the exit of that corner there at No Name, pretty notorious at Spa.
Yeah, Iris continuing on, so may not have had too much damage, just lost a heap of track time, but more importantly, you've lost that draft and any chance to stay with the pack. So going to be a lonely remaining 4 laps for Ira, but we are focusing on the action at the back of the podium positions at the moment, and Stuart Vaughan goes through and takes that position back from Jamie Stovall. So all this is doing is allowing Jacob Wallmeyer to extend that gap out to 1.5 seconds now. So it's working in his favour.
Another lap completed to start 3 of 6 now, and a fastest lap of the race from Ewan Baker. No draft assistance on that. That's just a clean lap from Baker, but Stovall making his way up through the field takes it away as he got a good run in places to get himself up to 3rd. We saw him getting a really good run on the Kemmel Straight about this time a lap ago as well, and that certainly helps. John Snell and Ben Miles pit lane for damage at the end of this lap as well, and you imagine we'll see Ira Felberg when he gets there, as he does now. Without doubt, this is the part of the lap, every lap, you can schedule some action, because here comes 3 wide. Run gets a little bit blocked, potentially, there for Nathan Norman. James Chastanoff and Brody Shepherd then appear at him at speed. Stuart Vaughan capping out in the slipstream once again, gets passed by Jamie Stovall, who's going for 3rd place.
Yeah, the guys at this back of this pack are looking pretty racy and pretty keen to make their way through to the front. So we'll keep an eye on Stuart Vaughan, because this same scenario happened only a lap ago, and Vaughan managed to maintain that mid-corner pace through the centre part of the track, and did get his nose back in front by the end of the lap. So this just might be an opportunity for a practice run to what he's potentially going to do on the final lap.
Big moves of this race so far. James Chastanoff started 13th. He's now up to 6th, but he's in this pack here. Brady Baldwin's made big moves. He started out of 19th, now up into 7th. And yeah, Sean Doyle, Tom Freer, Jamie Stovall, also pretty big movers throughout this race so far. Brady Baldwin, I think he's certainly still got the chance to make a couple more, as you see him here in 9th behind Dean Russell.
Yeah, a little bit further back in the pack, this is the 43 car of Joshua Horton, and he looks like he is in a little battle at the moment with Brady Baldwin as well. So we look out the back of Josh Horton, and actually there's Tom Freer that's tucked in underneath the back of his car. So good speed coming into the last section of the lap. He's going to have the inside for the braking zone down here if he can hold it around the sweeper. Looks like they can. They're still side by side as they come into that braking zone. Job not yet done, but Freer does a really, really good job of pulling it up. Horton looking for an opportunity to switch back, comes into the back and tailpipe of Freer. And it doesn't look like any damage is done, but Freer definitely knows that he's there.
Yeah, big check-up effect through the slow corners of Spa-Francorchamps that pair with its long straights, high speeds, and the pucker moment as you approach. Eau Rouge side by side for 2nd place, Jamie Stovall and Jacob Wallmeyer. And Jamie Stovall, the braver driver that time, gets ahead, but does it put him in a dangerous position as they now go through the kink and onto the Kemmel Straight. Stovall's going to stay driver's right. Wallmeyer's going to pull out to look to go around the outside. Stuart Vaughan, is he ruining that gear ratio again as James Chastanoff slots the gap down the middle into 2nd place. He's a big mover in this race now.
Yeah, we thought Wallmeyer might have cleared the pack behind, but he's fallen back into the clutches, and all of a sudden he finds himself from a comfortable 2nd position to now fighting for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th even. So could have been tales of what could have been. But the race isn't over, so we'll wait and see. We don't want to put the commentator's curse on the poor young lady at this stage of the race. Still a long way to go, but Chastanoff coming out in front in that little battle. So we've still got 3 laps to go at the end of this one. So a long way to go, plenty of racing and plenty of on-track action still to come.
In a group like this, you can make positions and make them quickly. James Chastanoff started the lap in 6th. Now he leads the group in 2nd, but he's not going to be able to lead them to close in on Ewan Baker, I don't think. That lead now 3.1 seconds, and the battling getting fierce amongst this group here as well. No more reverse grids or anything. How they finish this race number 2 is how they will go into the final race of the night, race number 3. Now, Dean Russell was leading Brady Baldwin and Sean Doyle, and at the end of the Kemmel Straight here, he's banged an interlocked wheels with Brady Baldwin by the look of things. Baldwin appears to have continued, has not gone so well for Dean Russell.
So while there's action and plenty back in the pack, tyre smoke from contact, Jamie Stovall has taken control of this little battle pack. Jacob Wallmeyer again has the inside from Chastanoff as he gets pushed back down the pecking order. Curb cam as we make our way through the chicane on the last couple of corners to complete yet another lap, and this is the Ewan Baker Show, race number 2. It's a 3.2 second gap. You can see it on your screen as we speak. Still 5 little battle pack here for the dying, actually might be 6 cars for the dying spots on the podium, but this could go either way with 2 laps remaining.
we're going to see a little bit of everything between now and the end on this race. They're all setting up for how they're going to take their run onto the Camel Straight now, this time rounding the crest at the top of Radion, actually. And 3 wide for second place. Around the outside with the most speed goes Wallmeyer. In the middle, James Chastanoff and Jamie Stovall backs out of that one. Lets them go 2 wide in front. Almost a little bit of contact with Wallmeyer there. Exposed wheels on these Formula Fords, and yeah, they've made a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact in places throughout all the racing we've seen so far.
Yeah, Wallmeyer and Stovall, they're going side by side, just keeping Stuart Vaughan in this little battle as well. Remember, he didn't have the straight line speed to potentially contest for a position, but he is sitting there waiting to pick up the pieces if the proverbial should hit the fan. But at the moment, sitting seems a long way back, 4 positions from the front of this little battle pack. But as we've seen in the last couple of laps, you can easily turn that around and find fortune in your favour.
So probably the happiest driver right now is Ewan Baker, as his lead's now out to 4 seconds. But I don't think you've got quite time to comprehend that if you're in that group behind, 2nd through to 7th, covered by what can be nothing. We've seen Chastanoff go from 6th to 2nd in the space of effectively 3 corners before. And he's got a couple of car lengths now on Stovall. Appears to be backing up Wallmeyer, Vaughan, Shepherd, and Nathan Norman here. And he might be able to get a breakaway, you know.
Yeah, this is the point in race number 1 where we saw the leader actually take the opportunity and pull a gap from the battle pack. So this is exactly what James Chastanoff seems to be doing at the moment. I'm saying that Jacob Wallmeyer is put out a lasso and trying to stay with the back of Chastanoff there. He doesn't want to let him go and just give him this position. Looks like Vaughan and Stovall there still battling for 4th and 5th on track as they make their way side by side through the chicane. Barney waving the white flag on the right hand side of your screen feverishly as they come across the line to get the penultimate lap started.
And so just 7 more kilometres for race number 2. Battles throughout the field, not just that group for 2nd place with 6 drivers, but also Sean Doyle battling Brady Baldwin, Joshua Horton battering, hopefully not just battling, Tom Freer, Warren Henry, and Dean Russell battling at the moment. That second, a massive slide and a massive moment and a huge save from Jacob Wallmeyer, but that's going to hurt his momentum down the Camel Straight on the final lap. He's looking in his mirrors at 3 wide as Wallmeyer, Stovall, and Vaughan try to hunt him down. It might have let Chastanoff off the hook as well here. Wallmeyer will get defensive into the corner at the ends of the Camel Straight, but not enough, as around the outside of him goes Jamie Stovall. Vaughan's got the gears to be aggressive through the middle sector of the lap here as well on the final lap.
Yeah, it won't take long for these guys here to sort themselves out. Chastanoff got that little bit of a gap at the moment. What is it, 0.7 of a second? So all he's got to do is hit his brake marks and his apexes, and he should make it home in P2. Jamie Stovall is looking pretty comfortable at the moment, P3, but the closest battle out of this group is 4 and 5, and it's Wallmeyer and Vaughan. Vaughan coming in contact with the back of Wallmeyer and sending smoke signals off as he gets parallel with the track. He manages to keep it on track, but look at all the momentum and the speed he has washed off and becomes under threat now from Sean Doyle and Brady Baldwin.
Yep, he's out of that leading group on the final lap, and he's under pressure now from the next group of drivers. It's got very quick Joshua Horton and Tom Freer approaching as well if they keep battling like this side by side through campus. And then Stavolo, Ewan Baker's lead is very nice, but there is 4 battle groups to be decided on the final lap of race number 2 behind him. Like this one, Chastanoff and Stovall. Stovall's right there through Blanchimont to try to attack in the braking zone into the bus stop. Haven't seen many drivers be able to go around the outside of the first segment to take the inside of the second one without downforce in these Formula Fords, and looks like Chastanoff will complete that trend. Ewan Baker will take a race win. The points leader extends it in race number 2. Great run through the field from James Chastanoff for 2nd. Stovall completing the podium there in third, then Warmeyer, Shepherd, Norman, Doyle and Vaughan. Tom Freer looks to have his nose in front of Joshua Horton, but did he get it there in time? The checkered flag comes up very quickly out of the exit of the bus stop chicane. No, Horton held on by 0.08 of a second, and this is what happened to Brady Baldwin. How's the J-turn on that? Good recovery. Not bad.
Yeah, a bit of wheel work happening in the cockpit there to recover, but a little bit of contact there. He does manage to limp it home, but losing only 2 positions. So not a complete disaster, but still not the way he would have wanted to end the race.
Gone to the Mater School of backwards driving there, and to reasonable results, as it's a decent recovery. These are the results from race number 2. Baker striking back with a win. James Chastano from 13th on the grid to 2nd. Stovall from 8th on the grid to 3rd. And then Jacob Wallmeyer in 4th. Brody Shepherd, Nathan Norman, Sean Doyle, Stuart Vaughan, Joshua Horton, and Tom Freer as that top 10. Brady Baldwin in the end looking like he recovered to 11th. Benjamin Wheeler, Dean Russell, Warren Henry, Dyson Freeman, Caleb Dawson, 16th. The rest of these drivers went through the pit lane for repairs. Ira Felberg, Ben Miles, and John Snell. And that race number 2 sets the grid for race number 3 coming up, when John Snell works his way around to the checkered flag in just a moment here. And he's, I think, the last driver for that.
No Falcon-Chance driver, the last one on the circuit, and he will be classed as a finisher, but albeit a long way off the pace of the leaders.
When the drivers saw Spa-Francorchamps as a sprint round, you do think of it as an endurance circuit. It's a big lap, home of the 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps, but I think it's certainly delivered lots of action, and there's still one more race of it to come on the other side of this break. Ozicar is supported by Sim Racing League, Locked On Lads, Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving, and in support of the No Social Hate campaign. In just a few minutes, we'll come back for race number 3 of Ozicar Formula Ford from Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. Don't go anywhere.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
And we're back. One last sprint race on Circuit Spa-Francorchamps for Ozicar Formula Ford. And when it's done, that's the halfway point of this championship. What an exciting track it is here at Spa, and that slipstreaming up the hill through Eau Rouge, Blanchimont. and the Camel Straight proving so exciting. Let's take another look at it as we get ready for race number 3. Russell's over there. We're up in the mountains.
Of course, the track only a fraction of what it once was, so it's been modified a number of times over the years, and it's been in its current format for quite a while now. That chicane in turns 18 and 19 has been modified a number of times, but a lot of the really familiar names, Radion, On Rouge and the Camel Straight, have been vital parts and produced great racing over the course of the last 50 plus years. But at the moment, current configuration, 19 laps, 7 kilometres, almost on the dot, and we are back for race 3 tonight, so plenty of action still to come.
Jackie X is spelt wrong. Of course, one of the most famous Belgian racing drivers is Jackie X, to the extent that he gets a corner here named after him, and he also gets a corner at Zolder named after him. So he's down with the French speakers and the Flemish speakers in Belgium, and that lets you know he was a big deal. Any-time Formula One racer, also a Le Mans winner, I want to say in 1970 with Ferrari or something like that, but a really great representative of Belgian motorsport, both in Grand Prix racing but endurance racing as well. And with one 6-lap race coming up for Ozicar Formula Ford, this does not feel like an endurance race. And it won't be. It will be crazy. Ewan Baker, he's on the pole from James Chasnoff, Jamie Stokold, Jacob Wollmeyer, Brody Shepherd, and Nathan Norman. And that 4-second gap that he had so comfortable in race number 2 is evaporated as he'll start side by side on the front row there and have to do all that work again. Behind that leading 6 is Sean Doyle, Stuart Vaughan, Tom Freer, Brady Baldwin, Ben Wheeler, and Dean Russell. And the grid completed by Warren Henry, Dyson Freeman, Caleb Dawson, Ira Felberg, Joshua Horton, Ben Miles, and John Snell. So that's our 19 cars for one final race, 10-second board on display. We've had a race win for Jamie Stovold, a race win for Ewan Baker. Will it be a different third winner in race number 3? Certainly there's been some quick drivers. Ewan Baker's performance really good in race number 2 there, but it's the pack racing, the traffic, and the decisions you make that are so critical. Launching now into race number 3, cold tyres once again. Who got the good jump? Looks like Nathan Norman didn't, as he's already passed by Sean Doyle and Stuart Vaughan making 2 into the La Source hairpin. But it's the line you take, who you draft, who you go side by side with between here and Lacombe that makes such a big difference on the opening lap.
Yeah, the starters seemed to hold on for quite a while on the grid. Once the lights did go green, it was Brady Baldwin who made a very, very aggressive dart from the left-hand side of the circuit across to the right to make sure he had that inside line for turn number 1. But they make their way up through on Rouge through Radion now and the Camel Straight for the first time. Again, looks like everybody makes it through relatively cleanly. Stuart Vaughan, as we've seen it time and time again, just sitting there, very, very hard to defend. So he goes the inside line, but it might be Brody Shepherd going around the outside in P5 at the moment. But up the front, it is the Jamie Stovold, Ewan Baker, James Chastanoff show as they lead 1, 2, 3.
Drivers will still be trying to get a bit of temperature into their tyres. Down the inside on Stuart Vaughan goes Tom Freer, already making plenty of hay in this sunshine. 3 positions gained if he completes this one, which he almost doesn't. A big slide as he swooped around from the outside line to try to cut off Stuart Vaughan on this opening lap. Jamie Stovold also making those 2 spots as he now leads the field, putting Ewan Baker and James Chastanoff each back a spot. Chance of a top 3 breakaway. You've got someone out in the runoff there through the double left-hander of Puon. I want to say maybe Nathan Norman, or could have been Benjamin Wheeler, as a couple of drivers who've dropped spots on this opening lap. The drivers who've made big spots on this opening lap: Joshua Horton up 5, Tom Freer up 3, and Ben Miles up 4.
Yeah, some movers and shakers doing really well on the cold tyres, so they've come accustomed to it quite well. But at the front, it's the familiar names of Stovold, Baker, Chastanoff, Wollmeyer, Shepherd, Tom Freer make up your top 6. The top 6 are separated by what is less than 1.5 seconds, so plenty of close on-track action at the moment. Baker looking for an opportunity to get down the inside, take control of the lead to potentially cross the line in first position. It is going to come down to a heavy braking zone into the last chicane, but Baker holds it tight against the white line to ensure he has that inside run. It's Stovall there trying to make it too wide through the chicane, and it looks like he gets it done. Ewan going for the cross back, but it is Stovall, our race leader, after the completion of lap 1.
Typical bus stops, you wait all day for a Formula Ford, and then 19 come at once. 2 wide, 4 rows deep on the way into La Saucier for lap number 2 of race number 3. Drivers willing to put it all on the line in the final race. You don't need to worry about where you'll start on the grid for the next race. You just worry about where you finish this one. Maybe a little more risk willing to be taken. Ewan Baker goes into the race lead there through Eau Rouge. Jamie Stovall will have the chance to return serve down the Kemmel Straight. That's unless Jacob Warmeyer gets an even better run than him. Pulls out of the slipstream, but perhaps a little too early. 3 wide for our race leaders. It's James Chastanoff and Tom Freer behind, who are carrying big speed with nowhere to go. As we're 3 wide now, 2 wide, heading at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Stovall leads. Warmeyer up in a second. Ewan Baker getting swamped a little bit, briefly back into 4th place.
Yeah, absolutely smashing camera angles as the cars smash the curbs on the exit of what is turn number 7, I think it is. Really, really good view there. You can get a good grasp of just the speed these cars are carrying through the later part of the circuit after the Kemmel Straight. But we can start the downhill section on lap number 2 now. Stovall has control by a sheer 1/10 of a second, with Warmeyer looking as racy and aggressive as he has all night.
Brady Baldwin gets a tap from behind on his rear gearbox, and he goes for a little bit of a slide off the track there. I don't think he actually ended up with too much damage, but track position, slipstreaming is everything in this final race, and it's dropped him all the way back to 17th. He made big moves in race number 2 from deep in the field, but he didn't want to have to do all of that work all over again. We'll take a look here. Yeah, maybe a little clumsy from, I think, Benjamin Wheeler? No, Brody Shepherd.
Yeah, I thought Brady may have just turned in a little bit early and took the nose off Brody, but tip for tat. I'm sure the stewards will look at that at the end of the race, and a solution they will come up with. But at the moment, it's a 6-horse race out in front from Stuart, Vaughan, Chastanoff, Freer, Warmeyer, Baker, and at the lead of it is Jamie Stovall.
Yep, this is your leading group as they're going to start lap number 3. You always feel starting this lap that first place isn't quite where you want to be. Okay, here's the look. So on the outside there, gaining just a little bit of ground as we go is Baldwin. And
Might have to eat my words.
Shep breaks a little bit later, maybe. There was some contact in the second pack as we were looking at that replay coming off the bus stop chicane. So Brody Shepherd's gone and lost some spots out of that. And it means that your top 6 have got even more clean air on the rest of the race. Here we are, up the Kemmel Straight at speed, one more time, side by side. The teammates fan out. And look at Vaughan going nowhere as he tops out.
Yeah, going nowhere fast, as they say. Just sitting at the back of the pack with James Chastanoff tailing him. So there's a good little 6-way battle for the lead, which is on focus at the moment, but also behind is another little 6-way battle for the remaining positions inside the top 10. There's another group there that are separated by just a small gap of just over a second. So plenty of on-track action happening, not necessarily up the pointy end of the field. So a lot of the drivers out there currently with their hands busy on the wheel, keeping their eyes on their mirrors just to make sure they give enough room, and they tend to cover off any challenge from behind.
No shortage of passing for Formula Ford at Spa, as Tom Freer has gone from 9th on the grid to being the race leader in just the space of 2 laps, but it's a tough position to hold on to. This is that other incident. Ooh, that's Russell, who in the black car has just a little bit of overlap and tags the rear of what I think would have been Brody Shepherd.
Yeah, I reckon it was the 55, so So it is an SSR 1-2 at the moment. We saw that early on in race number 1 with Freer, Stovall, Ewan Baker sitting in P3. Stuart Vaughan, we are talking about him potentially having a lack of straight line speed, but he is using his setup to his advantage. Got the fastest lap of the race at the moment, and you don't do that by being a slouch behind the wheel. So looks like they're off on the grass on the exit of turn number 16 using track limits and then some. Baker looking to force it, the issue as he makes his way through on the inside of Stovall and gets the job done under brakes.
I'm looking at those speed trap speeds again, and I'm wondering if either Stovall just hasn't got a good slipstream at any point in this race, or if he's also got the same gears as Vaughan, because everyone else's top speed's 215, and for Stovall 209, for Vaughan 208. Nice little lead Tom Freer's got at this occasion. Is Stovall battling in the pack here to give his teammate a lead, or is it just a consequence of how Formula Fords go racing here at Spa? Stovall's going to go side by side with Baker here. And Vaughan was also trying to pick up a move or two if he can. Side by side up the hill rarely works out. There's way too many marbles for Stovall. He can't carry any speed. James Chastanoff can. And I think Chastanoff's made 5 spots here.
Yeah, by being patient at the bottom of the hill, or sorry, earlier on in the lap, he has taken advantage of it, but they're using some pretty aggressive tactics out at the moment. One of the SSR cars getting a tank slapper as he makes his way into the braking zone. That was Stovall, I think it was.
Wheel-to-wheel contact between Stovall and Baker, and they make some more Stovalls around. The next pack has to make avoiding action, but they can't all avoid, and there's damage on the 74 of Sean Doyle.
Yeah, the wheel on that wagon is looking wet. So there's no coming back from that. It's going to be a tow back for the pits for Sean Doyle, and I'm sure our number 1 viewer, ticket holder, is probably cursing and swearing at her screen at the moment as she watches the sun go backwards into the fence with a heap of damage on that right-hand rear wheel.
A couple of other cars with damage as well that are dropping down through the field. I think Wallmeyer's picked some up. So now Tom Freer leads by 2 seconds. You're looking at second and third, Chastanoff and Ewan Baker, who've gone back and forth in Aussie car competition a million times before. So here's Ewan Baker coming across a little bit as he gets squeezed by Vaughan. Then Vaughan runs out of momentum, and there's just that little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, 5, 6, 8 movements on the wheel to try to save it initially for Stovall. And then it's Wallmeyer and Baker who lock wheels. Wallmeyer goes backwards, gets hit on all 4 corners. That's where the damage comes in for Sean Doyle. 2 laps to go when they cross the line here. Tom Freer with the lead. They're battling behind Baker and Chastanoff. Vaughan and Stovall still just within that slipstream range as well. And the drivers who've managed to gain big time off all of that drama are Ben Miles, plus 12 positions in to 6th there, and Joshua Horton plus 10 positions into 7th, and only just about half a second off the slipstream of Jamie Stovall as well. If there's more battling in front of them, they could get up towards this group of cars, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th on your screen right now through La Source.
Yeah, the 707 leads with 2 laps to go. James Chastanoff secures the fastest lap of the race, but it's Ewan Baker and Chastanoff battling for 2nd, 3rd. Then there's another little battle pack of 2 cars being Vaughan and Stovall. And then you look back further down the track and it is Miles and Horton, another group of 2. So plenty of little 2x2 battle packs out here. They will have to work together if they want to try and catch the cars in front. But it looks like Chastanoff and Ewan Baker are going to go side by side as the 2 cars in the background do as well. Chastanoff getting a pretty good run. Baker falling back in line and concedes the position, but he's not going to throw in the towel just yet.
Stovall getting a great run through the slipstream that time, confirming he does have the taller gears that every other driver's got, and it helps him stay ahead of Stuart Vaughan that time. This group close up somewhat, and it drags them further away from Ben Miles and Joshua Horton, who I don't think are quite going to be able to catch this group of cars. There's still one more lap after this. Be praying for a pretty big mistake out of Tom Freer if there's any chance of catching him, though. We've seen that across races 1 and 2, that if a leader with a bit of race pace can break the toe, then the battling of the group behind will prevent them from catching.
Yeah, it's amazing what a little bit of breathing space can do just in your confidence, so you don't have to watch your mirrors. All you can do is focus on what's happening in front. So while the cars behind trip over themselves, you just tend to extend that lead, and the what was a comfortable gap just becomes like an easy chair recliner, and it gives you a bit more comfort as the race develops.
Heated, ventilated, and massaging functions too at the moment, I think, for Tom Freer, as Chastanoff was making some defensive lines to Ewan Baker, who's not been able to make the move just yet. Keeps Stovald and Vaughan very, very close as well. And Baker's probably the only driver who I feel like could catch Tom Freer if he got a clean run at the front of this pack, but he won't. They're side by side heading towards Blanchimont. Baker will have to go round the outside, and he does. Stovald looks to follow him. So 2 positions dropped now for Chastanoff heading into the bus stop.
Yeah, with a lap to go, even if Baker did get clear of this pack, it's a pretty big gap, a big ask for him to reel it in. It's 2.7 seconds, the gap between first and second at the moment with 1 lap to go. So final lap, white flag being shown as the drivers cross the finish line. Fastest lap this time, Tom Freer, so the car out in front setting the pace.
And a clear sign that the battling of this group behind is not catching him. Here we go, side by side, down the hill. Stovald's got the inside for the left, be the outside for the right-hander, but he gets across onto that racing line. No more dealing with the marbles. Contact between Baker and Vaughan. Baker keeps it off the wall, which is critical. He doesn't want a DNF in this race, but he is going to lose big positions. At the fastest point of the racetrack, he's at a standstill, and they are steaming past him on the final lap of the final race of the night for Ozicar Formula Ford at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. Tom Freer in the lead, his teammate into second, Chastanoff now in third, battling with Stuart Vaughan. It's still not enough for Miles and Horton in 5th and 6th to be able to catch them.
Yeah, for those that have just joined us, that was our championship leader facing sideways across the track in a big plume of smoke, losing a handful of positions, and he drops down the field from potential podium to currently sitting 15th. So huge championship implications there. I was keeping a very close eye on the 42, potentially getting that good run up on Rouge, but the contact there with Baker just upsetting the run that Chastanoff had. So he is sitting in P3 at the moment. This is a battle 2nd, 3rd and 4th on screen, and one of these guys is potentially going to miss out on a podium position tonight. It's a 3-way battle for the last slot of the bragging rights.
So this is it now, your last opportunities to make positions. Final lap, final race. Tom Freer's lead now 4 seconds. He will be thrilled with the result of this one. Stovald, can he hold on to this second with Chastanoff and Vaughan right behind him? Will be a tough ask towards the bus stop. We've also got some other battles through the field like 9th, 10th and 11th. And 12th, 13th, 14th, and even Dean Russell and Ira Felberg. But here comes James Chastanoff to the inside of Blanchimont. Stuart Vaughan trying to follow him through. Good run from Chastanoff to be able to use all the width of the road through that corner. Tough to go side by side, and it robs the speed of his competitors behind. Chastanoff will have a chance to hold on to second. Vaughan with a big ask to go round the outside of the bus stop here. Going to give it a go, but Tom Freer with a race win. Chastanoff there in second. Stovald, better traction off the corner to be third. Stuart Vaughan 5th. There's Miles and Horton behind, but someone's gone for a nasty ride off the outside of Blanchimont as well. Ewan Baker, back of shot here, will cross the line in 14th place.
So we jump on board the Ozicar.net replay, and this might be Brady Baldwin in the car 7. He's been in all sorts of wars tonight.
I think that's
first time we've
exactly
seen him upside down, but
what happened in the 2001 Belgian Grand Prix to a driver who I can't remember. Wheel-to-wheel contact at the turning point to Blanchimont, sending the car on the outside straight to the barrier. It's one of my earliest Formula One memories. It's the first race I can remember watching on TV. Tom Freer with the win there in race number 3 from James Chastanoff, Jamie Stovald, Stuart Vaughan, Ben Miles, Joshua Horton, Nathan Norman, and Dyson Freeman, Ben Wheeler, and Warren Henry inside the top 10. Caleb Dawson 11th, Brodie Shepherd 12th from John Snell. Ewan Baker in 14th. Rare blip from the driver who came into this round as the championship leader, and normally a picture of consistency. Dean Russell, Ira Felberg, Parady Baldwin, Jacob Warmeyer last car on the lead lap as Sean Doyle sustained such damage that he had to tow the car rather than limp it around as others with damage were able to do. Man, wow. I think we got what you might have thought you were going to get when you heard 3 sprint races in Formula Fords and the full Grand Prix layout of Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, we promised action, and action Ozicar did deliver tonight. It was doesn't matter what lap you look at, there was plenty of on-track action, side-by-side racing, heavy braking zones, and it's all unfolded in front of us tonight. And obviously our championship leader going into tonight's round having a shocker, having a couple of good results early on in the night, but more importantly in the feature race, the final race tonight, he'll have to go home, regroup, and refocus and focus on that championship contention and that defence. Because in 2 weeks' time, we will be back for the first of our Enduros, I believe, at Monza Combined, round 4.
Yep. One of the few racetracks there are, other than the Nordschleife, longer than Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. I think it's basically exactly 10 kilometres, all things added up. The oval being 4 and the Grand Prix circuit being 6, or give or take there. We had 3 races here at Spa, though, and 3 different winners. The first of them is going to join us, and that's Jamie Stovald, 3rd in qualifying, and never off the podium when it was difficult to get consistency for everyone else. I think you've got some.
Oh, yeah, potentially. What a race. Yeah, I mean, it's quite easy to sort of stay up with everyone when you're in the draft, so yeah, you just sort of have to pick your moments.
Brains and brawn, I think, both needed for racing here when you think about, outright lap pace, but also when and how you pick your moves, how you battle different drivers, what you know about them, and guess in the end, not sustaining any damage, pretty important as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good that you can sort of work together with some drivers, and some drivers you sort of want to battle a bit more because, if they get past and pull a gap, then they're just going to shoot up the road and you're never going to see them again. But yeah, there was moments throughout all those races where people were working together, and at the same time, there was some good battles there. Yeah, no one really pulled away too much. I was only when there was sort of dramas behind them that they pulled. So
how was the synergy with your teammate Tom Freer? It seems like the kind of racing where having someone in your corner is pretty useful.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we race together a lot, so we sort of are learning these cars together, and know that having someone to work with is definitely beneficial, especially at a track like this. We tried to do it in the first race. I think we pulled like a 2-second gap on 4th, and then we got a bit excited and everyone started battling a bit, so everyone caught up again. But yeah, it's definitely good to have teammates.
Very exciting racing, potentially a little too chaotic at points. So we get to go from the sprint format to the Enduro next time out on Monza Combined. It'll be higher speed, but at least it'll be less cold tyres.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually done a race at the big Monza track. I've obviously done Monza, but not the full layout. It's just going to be another draft fest, I think. Another one of these kind of tracks where it's using your brain a bit and just try not to die, really. But yeah, I sort of enjoyed this format, actually. I'm not sure how the Enduro is going to go, but having 3 races was a lot of fun.
It'll be something different to test you and all the other drivers. We look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
And from the winner of race number 1, the winner of race number 2 is not here. Okay, I thought we had all the race winners, but we don't. We go James Chastanoff instead, though. 6th, a 2nd, and a 2nd. He's with Jason Fewens.
Well, Chassis, a bit of an up and down night for you. A bit of front pack action, a bit of mid pack action, but ultimately finishing on the podium in the feature race tonight. Congratulations on securing a 2nd in our final race of the evening.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Yeah, good result in the end.
So I did pop into the Banner Alliance garage before the race, and you really weren't overly confident in what was going to happen tonight because potentially lack of preparation, but on just how critical it was to stay within that draft pack. But qualifying on 6, so you definitely showed some outright pace, but a little bit of car contact in race number 1, so you dropped back down the field.
Yeah, I was surprised to actually qualify 6th, as high as 6th. It's a couple of close times there. A lot of good drivers sort of behind as well that I was sort of expected to be a little bit ahead. I just didn't have the confidence in my pace at this track. But yeah, it was as soon as the flag dropped, all hell broke loose. So yeah, there was a few silly moments I think from some drivers, a few predictable moments that I feel like I'd seen before. So I kind of knew what to do in those sort of scenarios, but a lot of it just came down to luck, I think, in the end. Just the right place, right time. Sometimes my undoing, but most of the time, just roll the dice.
Well, we saw you start up the grid in race number 2 out of P13, and that's where potentially your race of the night, and you really shone back through the field to secure a P2, and that definitely set up a front row start for the feature race tonight. So that was probably the real turning point of the evening. And once you started the final race, it really was a 6-car battle for the best part of it, and it was just a matter of keeping your nose clean, I guess, and keeping the car pointing in the right direction.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. Yeah, the second race was really good. I got a little bit of help through the field. There's a few times where I was 50-50, maybe like going into Eau Rouge or some of the corners where I thought, oh, they might let me go. They've been around a while. They might just think it's not worth battling me too hard and just use my slipstream and help themselves. And that happened a fair bit. So yeah, it helped me get through the field. Couple of ambitious passes helped as well. Yeah, I was thinking to myself, going back to the broadcast during some of those moves, thinking, oh man, this is either I'm gonna come back fondly look at this, or I'm gonna come back and be upset with myself for trying something a little bit ambitious. But yeah, no, everything sort of worked out after that first race. So I guess I got my bad luck out of the way early.
Yeah, well, if you've got a couple of those, if you don't know who I am cards and you stick your nose down the inside, sometimes some of the drivers just happen to get out of your way. You continue with your run and your power forward. So obviously a great result in race number 2 tonight, and of course capitalising on that to secure the podium. So big shout out to your sponsors. I guess tonight presume you'll be back in 2 weeks' time for the first of our endurance races. Now that we've reached the halfway point of the season. Yeah,
really looking forward to the next round. I don't know if it's do you know who I am, Card? I think it's just I think there's a little bit of courtesy through the mid pack. A lot of those guys are really smart though. And I mean, I do the same thing in other series and that, where I'm not quite on the pace, or even in here, like even during the race when I was in second place at the start of the third race. Some of the guys I knew were just so quick and they were really pushing forward real hard. Sometimes it's better just to back off, and with a lot of slipstream, especially on this track, it's smarter to just sort of sit in their slipstream. I was kind of hoping for a while that Ewan Baker might have been able to get his head down and just push towards Tom Freer as well. So yeah, sorry for keeping going on. Yeah, just a big shout out to the Banner Alliance, all the boys there, for all the help and support that I get throughout. Disappointed to see Roy wasn't crew chiefing this week, but yeah, it seemed to work out pretty much the same thing. So I think the words he gave me last couple of rounds has sort of stuck with me. So yeah, thanks to that, and all our sponsors on the car, I've gone over them multiple times. So yeah, I'll just leave it there. Thanks to you guys as well.
All right, well, we'll let him go spray some virtual champagne, milk, or whatever else he wants to celebrate with. And we will throw over to Dave. I believe he's got our race winner for the feature race tonight, up 8 positions to secure the win. I think he's with Tom Freer.
Yeah, we'll get Tom Freer in here. Real sort of from the pinnacle to the pit, back up to the pinnacle for you. Great qualifying effort. Not rewarded in race 1, where you finished 18th, then forward in race 2 to 9th, forward in race 3, back up to the top step of the podium.
Yeah, it wasn't a perfect night. That's for sure. But yeah, look, race 1 was going good. I actually thought we worked really well together at the start. I think it was me, and Baker and Jamie. We sort of pulled a bit of a gap, and yeah, and then this battle just erupted, which caused a little bit of chaos, and yeah, that obviously ended with me getting loose, sliding off the track into another car and a DNF. But to come back from that, I don't think it's a bad way to end the night, but it's definitely a missed opportunity.
Bit of chat about gear stacks and ratios. What can you tell us there?
Look, we were running the tall gear stack, so second from the, I think it's the second down. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. I think a few people probably went the tallest gear stack they could, but the reality was you didn't really need it. You weren't clipping in the draft on the others, so yeah, it's obviously just personal preference. I think the shorter one was a little bit better in the slow speed corners, which probably, helped the SSR cars today.
Yeah, definitely a bit of team formation flying happening up front at points. You're communicating at that point. Did you have a predetermined strategy before any of the races, or is it just a case of, okay, here's someone alongside me that I know I can trust a tiny bit more?
Yeah, definitely. I think we sort of spoke before the race saying if we're on a straight, then take the pass. At the end of the day, if you just lift out of the throttle and coast behind them, you're not going to break anyone. So we were trying to do that, which was good, but unfortunately, there was just a big battle, and suddenly we're 2-3 wide, and it just sort of got out of hand. I think that's just everyone's racing mentality. You get in a super battle and try to continue it on, but probably doesn't work very good for your race. But yeah, definitely a lot of communication. Obviously, we didn't plan it too well. That's why we ended up in the fence in the first race, but the last race we definitely got it right.
Yeah, so pole from the qualifying, win in race number 3. Really good pace out of yourself at a round that everyone sort of knew was going to be more of a roll of the dice than any of the others.
I wouldn't say that. I think anyone really could have won that. It's crazy to think that anyone in those top 10 cars in the race can win. It's just positioning yourself at the right time. I think someone who did a very good job of that was actually James Chasseneur. He seemed to put himself in a great spot towards the end of races, and he benefited from that. So honestly, I think it's lucky to draw. But yeah, anyone can win.
Well, for race number 3, you're in the right place at the right time then. Congratulations on that one. And half of the season's done, half of it's still to go.
Yes, hopefully we can get our act together and not have any dramas in the final 3 rounds.
Best of luck. See you there.
Thank you.
So 3 interviews after 3 races at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. Recap of the winners. Jamie Stovall, winner of race number 1. Race number 2 won by Ewan Baker, and the man we were just speaking to, Tom Freer, won race number 3. It's just one race next round of Ozicar Formula Ford Series when they go to Autodromo. I was going to say international. It's Nazionale Monza combined, which means the traditional Grand Prix circuit plus the oval as one combined 10-kilometer lap, high average speeds, slipstreaming, and instead of draft pack strategy, there's going to be more fuel strategy with the compulsory pit stops in that race. You'll see all of it here on Simspeed TV with myself, David Haynes, and Jason Fewens. We look forward to seeing you there.